Letter 7. To Thomas Pennant, Esquire. Though large herds of deer do much harm to the neighborhood, yet the injury to the morals of the people is of more moment than the loss of their crops. The temptation is irresistible, for most men are sportsmen by constitution, and there is such an inherent spirit for hunting in human nature as scarce any inhibitions can restrain. Hence, towards the beginning of this century, all this country was wild about deer stealing, unless he was a hunter, as they affected to call themselves. No young person was allowed to be possessed of manhood or gallantry. The Waltham blacks at length committed such enormities that government was forced to interfere with that severe and sanguinary act called the Black Act. Footnote. Statute 9, George I, Chapter 22. End footnote. Which now comprehends more felonies than any law that ever was framed before, and therefore a late Bishop of Winchester, when urged to restock Waltham Chase, refused, from a motive worthy of a prelate, replying that it had done mischief enough already. Footnote. This chase remains unstocked to this day. The bishop was Dr. Hoadley. End footnote. Our old race of deer-stealers are hardly extinct yet. It was but a little while ago that, over their ale, they used to recount the exploits of their youth, such as watching the pregnant hind to her lair, and, when the calf was dropped, paring its feet with a penknife to the quick to prevent its escape, till it was large and fat enough to be killed. The shooting at one of their neighbors with a bullet in a turnip field by moonshine, mistaking him for a deer, and the losing a dog in the following extraordinary manner. Some fellows, suspecting that a calf new fallen was deposited in a certain spot of thick fern, went with a lurcher to surprise it, when the parent hind rushed out of the brake, and, taking a vast spring with all her feet close together, pitched upon the neck of the dog, and broke it short in two. Another temptation to idleness and sporting was a number of rabbits, which possessed all the hillocks and dry places, but these being inconvenient to the huntsmen on account of their burrows, when they came to take away the deer, they permitted the country people to destroy them all. Such forests and wastes, when their allurements to irregularities are removed, are of considerable service to neighborhoods that verge upon them, by furnishing them with peat and turf for their firing, with fuel for the burning their lime, and with ashes for their grasses, and by maintaining their geese and their stock of young cattle at little or no expense. The manor farm of the parish of Greetham has an admitted claim, I see, by an old record taken from the Tower of London, of turning all livestock on the forest at proper seasons, by dentipus acceptus. Footnote. For the privilege the owner of that estate used to pay to the king annually 7 bushels of oats. End footnote. The reason, I presume, why sheep are excluded is because, being such close grazers, they would pick out all the finest grasses and hinder the deer from thriving. Footnote. In the Holt, where a full stock of fallow deer has been kept up till lately, no sheep are admitted to this day. End footnote. Though, by statute 4 and 5, William and Mary, Chapter 23, to burn on any waste between Candlemas and Midsummer, Any grig, ling, heath, and furze, goss, or fern is punishable with whipping and confinement in the house of correction. Yet in this forest, about March or April, according to the dryness of the season, such vast heath fires are lighted up that they often get to a masterless head, and, catching the hedges, have sometimes been communicated to the underwoods, woods, and coppices, where great damage has ensued. The plea for these burnings is that when the old coat of heath, etc., is consumed, young will sprout up and afford much tender browse for cattle. But where there is large old furze, the fire, following the roots, consumes the very ground, so that for hundreds of acres nothing is to be seen but smother and desolation, the whole circuit round looking like the cinders of a volcano, and the soil being quite exhausted, no traces of vegetation are to be found for years. These conflagrations, as they take place usually with a northeast or east wind, much annoy this village with their smoke, and often alarm the country. And once in particular I remember that a gentleman, who lives beyond Andover, coming to my house, when he got on the downs between that town and Winchester, at 25 miles distance, was surprised much with smoke and a hot smell of fire, and concluded that Alresford was in flames. But when he came to that town, he then had apprehensions for the next village, and so on to the end of his village, and so on to the end of his journey. On two of the most conspicuous eminences of this forest stand two arbors or bowers, made of the boughs of oaks, the one called Walden Lodge, the other Brimstone Lodge. These the keepers renew annually on the feast of St. Barnabas, taking the old materials for a perquisite. The farm called Blackmore, in this parish, is obliged to find the posts and brushwood for the former, while the farms at Greetham, in rotation, furnish for the latter, and are all enjoined to cut and deliver the materials at the spot. This custom I mention because I look upon it to be of very remote antiquity,